Hi everyone, it's nice to meet you. So I started my career as a software engineer and I thought that's what I'm going to do. I fell in love with cybersecurity because I realized I really like the aspect of security, and I didn't find cybersecurity until I interned as a software engineer at a company. A security engineer came in and he showed us like this one command can attack all databases, and he basically showed an SQL injection. And based on that moment, I decided I want to do cybersecurity because it's so important and it's something that impacts all of us. A typical day for me as a cybersecurity professional is varied based on the day. So I work in AI security. My job is looking at emerging technologies like AI, for example, and trying to determine what threats we might see, and then proposing security standards for 5G and for 6G networks. So 5G and 6G networks, just as background, you probably have it for your phone, and it's a way for different devices to connect with each other. It could be mobile networks or for your phone. It could also be other devices as well. But the key thing is this technology is what connects all of us together across the world. So we need this technology to be secure. So my job is really security standards. That means we want to anticipate, like, okay, in 5 years, what's going to happen with 6G? What threats do we see? And then how do we secure that architecture from being attacked? So now going back to what a typical day would look like as an AI security researcher. A lot of research, as you might imagine, is reading, studying, learning. So typically my day is researching different topics, researching what threats might exist, what are the news articles that might happen. I typically start my day like that. And then I have meetings with my team because we all have different categories or topics we're working on. So I focus on attending the meetings that I find interesting to, again, keep tabs on what's happening in the world and what's happening in technology and in cybersecurity. And then I anticipate these threats, or I anticipate these new technology ideas. I anticipate that, and then I create my own ideas, whether that's in the form of a patent or a paper. I've published a few research papers in the area that you can see if you're interested. So for example, one paper I was looking at was how do we use machine learning to prevent against denial of service attacks? So the key thing in AI security is I keep up to date with AI, what's happening in AI, and then I keep updated on cybersecurity and the different threats that we might imagine or that we see happening now in the world. For me, the most challenging aspect or the most challenging experience working in cybersecurity is just the idea that cybersecurity is an ever-evolving field. So something I learned in school, it was a very good foundation, but I have to keep learning constantly. Especially in AI security, the landscape is changing on a daily basis. So every day when I wake up, I see, okay, there are like 10 or 20 or 30 different developments sometimes. At least every day I see some kind of development happening in this space. So it makes it challenging because I have to always keep updated on the content, research it, and then brainstorm new ideas. Sometimes this means I look at the trends that I see. So for example, LLMs, and I see, okay, what threats do we anticipate now that we know LLMs are going to be widely used across industries? So that's one example. So to manage this experience of constantly learning and constantly keeping up to date with the news, with the developments, I basically do a few things. First thing is I try to always look at the news and see what's happening in cybersecurity with AI security. The second thing is I get involved with various groups, organizations like WSC, and it helps me learn more about what other people are working on, because for me, the most learning I do is by learning from other people. So I might learn something based on what I read, but what really helps is discussing these ideas with others. So for me, what helps is keeping up to date with the news, joining organizations, and discussing what I learned with other people. I've seen the cyber threats kind of evolve across my career or throughout my career because AI security is relatively a new field. In the past, we would talk about AI before LLMs, before generative AI, and believe it or not, AI has been used for decades. But what differentiates generative AI with what we used to do is that now with generative AI, everyone can run an LLM. Everyone can use AI to generate text for them, images, video. Now, because AI is so much more accessible, that also makes it more challenging to secure because now we're seeing AI being used, for example, to attack things. So with every positive technological development, we also need to anticipate the security with that. And I think this evolution of AI security with LLMs, with generative AI, it's influenced my approach to cybersecurity as well, because I can't just rely on, okay, we did AI this way and that's how it is, because now I know that everything's going to keep changing. It's influenced me in terms of how I approach different ideas. So now, for example, I look at, okay, generative AI is coming out, this new model is coming out. How does that model do? For example, DeepSeek, like what does that mean for the industry? What are some security issues with certain tools or certain models? So that kind of influences my approach. Is I keep looking at these developments and I see, okay, this is what we need to prioritize. One project or initiative that I found really rewarding for me personally in my career was when I got to present my ideas to ORAN Alliance. So I got to present my ideas for 6G and for public safety to an ORAN Alliance team within a global context. So there's a ORAN Open Radio Access Network Alliance. It's a group of renowned experts, researchers from various different companies, and they come together to discuss, like, what do we need to prioritize for 6G, threats, for 5G, what are the security threats we see, how do we mitigate these threats, and there are various topics that they discuss around 5G, around 6G, and specifically for something called an Open Radio Access Network, which is just a specific part of the network. So I found it really rewarding when I got to speak to this global team of experts, and I shared some of my ideas for 6G security. And it was really rewarding for me to be able to share my ideas and have a good discussion and dialogue with other global experts. I'm also very proud that I share my knowledge with others. So I've spoken at various conferences and it's really helped me. And I think my most important tip for cybersecurity is to always be passionate and focus on learning and just keep learning about things that you enjoy. Ultimately, cybersecurity, if you enjoy it, it's going to be easy for you to learn different things. So I think my key tip to be successful in this field is to just keep following your passion and keep learning.